What's going on, guys? My name is Regan Thompson. You might already know me as the co-owner of Syndicate, or possibly the co-owner of Native Scooters, which makes it a little bit hard for me to do an unbiased compare the pair on two really progressive street decks, but giving credit where credit is due, I'm here today in the studio to compare these two street decks, which right now are on the market and seem to be the two decks to compare. Like, you know, this is what you're on, this is what you're riding, this is what's out. This is the TSI box cutter, it's 5.5 inches wide, and this is the Aztec Siren, it's 6 inches wide. So they've both got different lengths really, but what I'm going to do is what I used to do a lot. I'm just going to run through my spec sheet comparing every little single thing that I can measure up on these decks when I look at it, as if I was thinking, alright, would I ride this and which one would I pick? And you know, I'm going to stop blabbering and I'm just going to get straight into the specs with you guys so we can compare the Aztec Siren and the TSI box cutter. So, head tube height. And why does that matter? Depending on what size forks you have and the tube length of your fork. The Aztec Siren has got a 100mm one, where the TSI box cutter has got 105mm head tube size. So that in inches is 3.9 and 4.1. Next thing to consider about these two decks is the head tube manufacturing process. So we've got the Aztec Siren, which features a forged head tube, and the TSI box cutter is a CNC machined head tube with the extruded bridge down here. So this, you know, forged is definitely, at the end of the day, going to be, it is a stronger way of making something because you're smashing together more aluminium in the same space. But that being said, they're also very different constructions, so there's possibly way more material in this one, in the box cutters version, but lighter, heavier, but not hugely overall. When we get to the weights, you'll see there's not too much difference. But anyway, that's the difference. Looks wise, I really dig what's going on here with the Siren, and I also do just love this classic simple look of the TSI as well. So it is what it is, but that's the difference between the head tube manufacturing process. The next one we've got, and I've just done this not really in any order, just running the tape measure down as I go, so sorry if it seems like it's a bit out of order, is the crook space. So on the front of the deck here, most decks have a, you know, little dip at least where you would do a crook grind on it. I'm sure you've watched some of our videos before where we talk about this. So I could measure 40mm on the Aztec Siren, which is 1.5 inches, and it's a bit questionable because this is actually, it's on a curve. This whole thing's on a curve, and then this little bit here in the I-beam, the front of it's got a bit of a, is it convex, or when it's going outwards, not too sure, but so it's like, it'd be kind of weird to actually create two tiny little crook grooves on either side, which would probably work really well. Now, for the TSI box cutter, it is just straight up flat the whole way across. There is no crook groove, but to me, that's also like, well, you could say there's no crook groove, or there's just this huge space where you could do a crook on. The more you crooks you do, you'll end up like locking into crooks as well, so that's going to be really sick for you as you know, build your own little crook groove. But yeah, whereas this one, the whole front of the deck curves away, so there has to be this spot where your crooks would like lock into on the rail or corner of the lead. It's either 140 mils or 0. It's up to you how you want to look at the box cutter for crooks. Personally, I think like, yeah, you're not going to be really helped much when it comes to locking in, but you've got so much space to, you know, find your own spot and just learn crooks and then, you know, establish a bit of a groove there. So yeah, that's the two of them for crook grooves. Now, moving on from the crook groove, but staying around the front, next up is the flatness of blunt contact area etc. So if you were in a perfect blunt slide, how much of the front of the deck is actually touching? So I've got 50 millimeters there, which is 1.9 inches, 50 millimeters on the Siren, and for the box cutter, you guessed it, it's 140 millimeters, which is 5.5 inches. Because, you know, straight up flat boy. Oh man, I've been hanging out with Storm Deasy so much, talking like him. What would be better? It's hard to say. I do like the huge, long, like flatness across the front for blunts, just like what we've got with the native Advent deck. However, the fact that it doesn't like taper off just a little bit on the sides can be a bit worrying. Like if the ledge is not forgiving in the sense of, you know, gripping up and stuff like that, you might run into a little bit of yeah, it'd be hard to get a consistent feel for it. And whereas this, I don't really like how you could curve off it so much, but still that's a lot of blunt space. And what it does is it actually allows for you to have like a tiny bit of an angle in your blunt too. So the same thing that is not optimal about it to me is also a really good thing, and you can see, I think that might be why it's designed like that. So I back them both. I would have to have a serious blunt sesh on both of these to really get my thoughts out on it, because I've been doing blunts for a long time. I have hoed that trick. Nose grind space. So people, it's still not happening much, purely because of the way a lot of decks are made, but it's one thing that we tried to introduce like back in the day when me and the boys were working with Root on that Root deck, is that square front. We've done it on the native deck. These guys have got the square front. It came to me from the District. I had a District deck back in the day that had a square enough front, and I was doing parallel nose grinds on, so not a crook, not a blunt, not a just on this little piece here, doing a nice nose grind, like a parallel nose grind. Super sick trick. Start doing them, people, and tag me in it. I want to see it. And yeah, nose grind space on this bad boy, unfortunately, because of that curve, I'm going to call it nothing. You probably could do it, but I don't think you would want to because of that curve, the amount that it would leave up to error. Whereas this, the box cutter, whew, it's a nose grind machine. The front of that is, that's what that is. That's just perfectly straight. So, oh yeah, the actual measurement for it is 44 millimeters, which appears to be 1.7 inches. So, heaps, lots. We need to get Syndicate mugs. Drop a comment below if you would actually cop one of those. That would be the difference between whether me and Reese order like 3 or if we order like 30. Alright, nose grind space covered. The next up is the width on the top. So, the Aztec is measured at 150 millimeters, converting to 5.9 inches. This is a bit of a weird one because it's the 6, and I don't know, rulers are slightly different over there, or it could literally just come down to the machining and the extrusion, whatever it is. Like I don't even care, it's so minute. We just do our own measurements here at Syndicate based off the rulers we have, and we get 5.9 inches on this, and we get 5.5 inches on the TSI. So this is, advertised as a 5.5, and it comes as a 5.5. That's the width on the top for both of them. The width on the bottom, this is the trippy bit, the crazy bit, the weird bit, but it's got obviously got its own purpose and stuff like that. But the Siren tapers in on the sides. It's good for wall rides and not scraping and fakies and stuff like that. Just in general, there is merit to tapering. So when everyone's going, no man, flat sides, like, think about it. Think about how you ride, think about how you want to ride, and how other people ride, and the team riders on the teams that make these decks, etc, etc. There's reasons for it. but it does taper in. So we've got a width on the bottom of 134 millimeters, which is 5.2 inches. And then over here on the 5.5 wide deck with the flat sides, we've got a width on the bottom of, you guessed it, 140 mil, 5.5 inches. So isn't that crazy? 6 wide deck, 5.5 wide deck. Which one has more 50-50 space underneath on the bottom? The 5.5, not the 6. The 5.5 is bigger underneath than the 6 is. So that's just a little trippy thing. It's not to knock this one or to try and overhype that one or anything. It's just like the measurements to scooter decks, depending how you ride and how you want to ride, are crucial. Like, educate yourself on these things, or come to Syndicate for that kind of information, because that's what we're all about. Being scooter riders, we overanalyze this just too much because we're nerds for this. Like, this is it. Concave. Some people use the radial curve, some people just use like whatever. I'm not gonna get into the technicalities of it until I have my own way of actually doing it here. But I will just say, on the Siren, my notes that I've got for the concave is flat but nice. And that just means, like, obviously there's heaps of concave in it, but because it's 6 wide, it's so big, and like it ends up feeling a bit flattish, but overall really you can feel like the curve, like it is there, but that's just what I feel. And also, because that's not just a straight up measurement, it's in a comparison, the TSI is like super deep. So when you stand on this at 5.5 with like super deep and the edges, the TSI's got like the fluting and the big edges and stuff, so you don't need grip tape, kind of. It makes a comparison of concave like insane. So flat but nice, but that sounds bad. I shouldn't even say it like that, because I should just say nice. And then this is super deep, like that's you have to come into Syndicate and stand on it, or find a mate that's got one and just stand on it. Like the Advent V1, both of these are have more concave than that. The Advent V2 has more than this, about the same as this. But you wouldn't have stepped on that yet. I'm just trying to think what else I could compare it to. Yeah, it's really hard. Concaves are something we'll work on figuring out a way to transfer that information to you guys better as well. Bad boys can feel a lot of feet on them. So now we're going on to the 5.0 space, which is also the 50-50 space, if I'm thinking about this correctly. 5.0 space, Siren, 55 millimeters I've got. So that's from where a standard wheel would be on the very corner of this spacer at the back to as far as you could possibly 5.0 on the deck end, which is, the underneath of this extrusion, and that's 55 millimeters on the Siren, which is 2.1 inches, and on the TSI it's going to be a fair bit more. Well, actually, apparently not. I thought that would have equaled out to more. 57 millimeters, which is 2.2 inches. So, obviously goes right to the edge, and that's a bit more because it's flat on the sides compared to the Siren. Yeah, and that's also your 50-50 space on either side of your two wheels. Foot space. Alright, so I'm going to go through foot space and wheelbase, because people compare 22-inch decks from one brand to a 22-inch deck from the other brand, and it just doesn't make sense. There's two sizes that really matter when it comes to comparing the length of a scooter, and that is wheelbase, from where the front wheel will sit on a 10mm offset fork to where the back wheel will sit in this axle. Wheelbase and foot space. That's the two things. So wheelbase should be your length decider, and foot space should be your comfort decider. It's hard with these two decks because they're genuinely different length decks in general. One's a, just looking down here, a 22.8, the apparently 23, and the other is a 22.1. But to compare these two decks, the reason this is sick is because you can get the tape measure out on your deck you've got and see if you would like one of these by listening to this. The foot space is 410 millimeters on the Aztec Siren, which is 16.1 inches, and on the TSI box cutter, we've got 405 millimeters, which is 15.9 inches. So on a smaller deck, the foot space is nearly as big, and the wheelbase, let's just compare this, 665 from front wheel to back wheel, which is 26.1, and 620, which is 24.4 on this. So there you go. Oh, there's one from earlier that I just brutally skipped right past, but it fits in here really well, and that's blunt distance. When you've got a fork in here turned sideways, we go off a standard fork that's got like a 1 centimeter thickness on the side, and that leaves for blunt space, like actual blunt stalls on a quarter or slides on a ledge, you would have 72 millimeters on the Siren, or you would have 77 millimeters, so a full half a centimeter more on the TSI, which is 3.03 inches. I hope you guys are following. You know, you may not fully follow and get every single measurement and why it matters, but maybe you get a bunch of it, maybe a little bit of it's like, oh, I don't care about that stuff, whatever, but you know, I'm just reporting what I see. Hopefully this will help a couple people out there understand their scooter and their preferences a little bit more, help you make a more informed purchase in the future when you do get your next deck, whatever it might be. Length. So the actual length of the deck from the front to the back. Actual length of the deck from the front to the back. And remember, like I said, length doesn't really matter. What you want to know is the wheelbase. But the length is 580, 22.8. 580 millimeters, 22.8 inches, and 562, 22.1 inches. Apparently people say otherwise, but that's our measurement we done with our yellow Australian tape measure. The weight, 1.9 kilograms and 2.1 kilograms. So there was some little numbers after that, but yeah, that's 1.9 versus 2.1 is that's with everything included on it. So I'm not a huge fan of people giving the weights of their products without the accessories on it, but I mean, both of these decks you totally could, and a lot of people do, just take the brakes off and run them like that. I don't know if it's for weight or for extra foot space or for that steez look, whatever it is, but yeah, with all included, they're the two weights I got. Brake styles of both of them are flex fenders. Wheel compatibility, this one can fit a 12mm conversion kit sold by Aztec that we have actually ordered into stock here at Syndicate. They retail for like $30, and you take out what you've got at the back and put in the new one, and then you can run the Ethic 12mm standard wheels. Doesn't say, or I haven't heard anything about Eagle Radix wheels, so don't know what the go is there with that, but yeah, there's some wheel compatibility with the Siren. Not with the TSI, however. They are very strict and straightforward with the width of the extrusion at the back of their decks, and I'm pretty sure it's been that size for a long time. Might have something to do with where their head tube at the top, you know, like welds to the rails or whatever. You ain't never gonna fit a bigger wheel than standard 24mm wide wheel in the back of one of these. I think, however, you can do up to 125s. Not sure if it's with or without the brake, but anyway, you will not get a Chetty on an Aztec Siren because the prongs will just slide straight down the big cutout at the back. You obviously will get a Chetty on a TSI. A Trinity fender, didn't have one to measure exactly, but it looks like you will be able to slide a Trinity fender in the cavity at the back of the TSI, and obviously Trinity fender, you'll be able to slide that into your Siren, so that's sick. Brake styles, wheel compatibility, head tube angle, 83 degrees. from what I've seen on Aztec's site, 82.5 degrees from what I've understood, but I've actually also seen websites saying 83 instead of 82.5. I don't know, it just seems like all TSI decks are 82.5 degree head tube angle. That's just what I could, that's the information I could get. I will be, I got a bit of a plan to figure out a bunch of little tools and stuff I can use to measure certain things that so far I've had to go off what the companies say or what the websites say, but I want to get these factoids for myself. So I will be working on some things like that. And yeah, that is the comparison, the review, the overview, the deck wars, whatever it is, the compare the pair. We got head tube height, head tube manufacturing process, crook space, blunt distance, flatness of blunt area contact, nose grind space, width on top, width on bottom, concave, 5/0 space, foot space, wheelbase, length, weight, brake styles, wheel compatibility, and head tube angle. Did I forget anything? Let me know in the comments below, please, so I can make sure to update my spreadsheet to include that in the next one that I do. So yeah, once again, my name is Regan Thompson, the co-owner here at Syndicate Store, also the co-owner of Native Scooters. This is the Aztec Siren, absolutely beautiful, high-end progressive street deck. This is the TSI box cutter, exactly what I just said about that one applies for this one too. Yeah, this video is not to say buy this one or buy that one. It's not even to say buy a deck. It's just to say when you do get around to buying a deck next, obviously support Rider Own and get it at Syndicate, but like make sure you are using this kind of information and the information we include in our product descriptions to make an informed decision that is going to benefit you and your riding the most, ultimately getting you the most joy from scooter riding. That's all we want. And yeah, don't know if I forgot anything. Which deck would I ride? Ooh, I've ridden sixes nowadays. We're doing a bunch of product development with Native, and I've ridden a 6. I'm a pretty small dude. I was always like, 6 is where scooters need to go, which I still believe to be true, but personally for me, I'm like a 5.5 dude. I think I can flat out say that now. I'm a 5.5 dude. This is a bit lighter though, and I'm a weight freak. I'm an absolute wuss for weight, so I'd be like, ooh, back to this. The curved ends for the 5.0s and stuff on the Siren is like a really big thing that I like, whereas there also is some merit to that, just like beautiful straight cut, like you know where you're at on the back of that. If I had to pick one, I don't know if I could. Nah. I just shouldn't say. It's not my place to say, but I will say anyway because everyone's different. I'd ride the box cutter. I freaking love this deck, and I like respect it so much, the craft that's gone into creating it. But yeah, me personally, my riding style, I mean, take price and everything out of the equation, like yeah, just box cutter, beautiful. That's my thing. That would be my decision. What would be your decision? Let us know below, and why. Like, let me know why you would pick one or the other. And yeah, also let me know below what 2 decks you want to see done next. Once again, my name is Regan Thompson. www.syndicatestore.com.au is where you need to go to support Rider Owned and shop at Syndicate Store. Goodbye.